everyone! Today we will have a short discussion about the topic that was assigned to us. So let me first discuss the true definition of gifted and talented. We will also have to identify the difference between these two terms, and later on, my group members will also have to discuss for further information all about the giftedness of a person and the skills they have. So, Miss Nikki Disoyo and Miss Melissa Villamor will have the honor to enlighten us about it. Do you believe that each of us has our own set of skills, or do you believe that we each have our own unique skills? It's not only the skills but the ability to do so. So if I were to answer this question, I would say yes, because I believe that each of us is unique. But what makes it unique? We are unique based on the characteristic we have, the skills we have, or the abilities we have. So, since our subject is focused on the topic of learners with special educational needs, we will have to relate our main objectives to it. As I said a while ago, each of us is unique, or we should say that every child is unique. Children have their own strengths and weaknesses. Their development progresses according to certain sequences, but the pace may vary. It is natural for the child to excel at this particular thing. But if in some courses, he or she isn't able to perform well, it may vary according to their skills. So halimbawa, ang bata ay magaling sa math or mahilig sa mga numbers. It is obvious na magaling naman talaga siya sa math, but if we try to compare his or her grade in terms of the level of motivation with regard to his PE subject or physical education, o kahit na sa ibang subject na walang math na involved. Although, there are students na magaling talaga sa lahat ng subject, but let's just focus to this example. There is a tendency to give higher grades in math compared to the other subjects because one skills suit the abilities they have or the ability they have. So this gifted and talented children means those persons between the ages of 4 and 21 whose abilities, talents, and potential for accomplishment so exceptional or developmentally advanced what they require special provisions to meet their educational needs. How do we identify gifted and talented? To identify gifted and talented students, schools must first understand giftedness and talent. Some gifted students may not easily be identified because many factors mask the expression of giftedness. It is important to recognize that many factors can hold back the expression of giftedness, and that gifted and talented students are found in all communities regardless of their cultural, socio-economic, or ethnic background. There are gifted students who are also present with one or more disabilities or other factors that impair the identification. When we are able to effectively identify gifted students, we are able to identify the students' giftedness domains: intellectual, creative, social, perceptual, physical, according to their muscular or motor control. So we intend to locate their level of thinking when it comes to intellectual, creativity, how they socialize, and how they do certain things. We can also describe the student's level of giftedness if they are mild, moderate, high, exceptional, or profound if applicable. We can also describe the student's fields of talent. So we also intend to determine their academic, realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, conventional, games, and sports. Once a student has been identified as gifted, schools can use appropriate educational provisions and strategies to cater to them. In the process, schools may find students who have additional gifts in specific areas, students whose needs are not being met by the current curriculum, and evidence for inclusion in a particular program. These are the main purposes of identifying gifted and talented students and the desired outcomes of successful identification. School principals need to ensure that there are processes used to identify gifted students. There are also child and family characteristics that can mask giftedness. Not every characteristic needs to be evident for a child to be considered gifted. There will be individual clusters of these characteristics as well as individual expressions of them. For further information, let us hear from Ms. Nikki Disoyo to discuss the characteristics of giftedness.
Thank you, Clarence. So now let's proceed with the consistent indicators of giftedness, possible indicators of giftedness, child characteristic that can mask giftedness, and family characteristic that can mask giftedness. So let's start with the consistent indicators of giftedness. So let's start with number 1. It is the good thinking. So kini mga bata, in short, bright or genius. So kaya nila og kanang makasolve problem solving, and they are good in reasoning. So number 2 is ease of speed learning. So kini mga bata in early age kanang matudloan sila sa na dali kaayo. So dili sila lisod tudloan kay makasabot sila dayon, unlike sa ubang bata sa age nila. So number 3 is the advanced verbal ability. So kani mga in just na example sa Facebook nga 15 months old maka-recite na lang siya alphabetical letter A to Z. So muna siya kanang makasulti na sila, makabasa ni sila on just early age, dili normal sa age nila. So ganas. Next, number 4 is exceptional memory. Maka-remember sila og butang na in just short period of time. So, for example, isang basahan lang, mahinumduman na nila tanan. So, they're good in, exam and quizzes. Number 5, perseverance or motivation. In just early age, kanang ganado na sila matuto or muskwela sa ganado sa isa kabutang na mapag-aralan nila. So, next, number 6 is wide-ranging interest and knowledge. In early age, interested na sila kaayo sa butang, sa usa ka butang na dili normal sa iyang age. For example is ganahan siya robotics. So di ba, for example, at the age of 5 sa mga anang age kay ganahan na sila playing, pero ing ani siya sa mga gifted children. So number 7, preference for older companions. So mostly sa mga gifted students, mas ganahan sila kauban nila yung mga elder, unlike sa age nila. Kay nga ang ilang hunahuna, ilang same months experience adto sa mga elder na kauban nila. So, number 8, keen observation. Mga very sensitive in terms of seeing, smelling, and hearing. It means they're eager, interested, and enthusiastic. So, next, number 9, quantitative ability and interest. Muna silang mga parahan ng na-feature sa KMJS na isang student, 7 years old, na siya sa college and ganahan siya calculus, diba? Very advanced nga bata. Most sa kanila mga wizard. So, ana. Number 10, exceptional spatial ability. Huwag na sila mag-solve of problems, mag-solve of puzzles, maps, or diagrams. Advance sila sa sense of place and destination. So, they're good in, finding ways. So, maayo ni kauban, kili mo maligaw. So, number 11, early use of symbolic representation. So, in early age, kabalo na sila mo drawing. Kanang dili lang siya basta drawing. Diba, mga drawing sa mga bata, murag papakaram na sila. Pero sila, kanang maayo na good mo drawing ba? O ang ilang mga handwriting kay nindot na. So, very not normal compared to their same age. So next is the possible indicators of giftedness. Number 1 is early development. In their early age, makalakaw na sila, makasulti, makabasa, or makasuwat compared to their same age ng mga student o mga bata. So number 2, intense curiosity. Magpakita sila ka ng dakog interest o sa kabutang in just early age. Diba ang mga bata mostly kung ano sila malilikot ilang mga utak, so kung salay buhaton nila compare sa mga student sa bata na gifted, focus siya sa usa ka butang na gusto niya matutunan. So number 3 is the wide range of temperaments. So mga kung sila mga perfectionist, sensitive o concerned sila sa moral and social issue. So, number 4 is often exhibits imagination and creativity. For example, ang gipahimo lang sa teacher is mag-drawing ka sa bond paper. Pero, naghimo siya laing way na di man to niya gusto. So, maghimo siya laing way mas more creative. So, mas maganda. So, muna siya. Number 5 is has an advanced sense of humor. So, syempre sila, mga kabalo po din sila mo joke. Pero mo lagi, comment silang joke kay pang bright lang. So, makasabot ato, mga bright lang po. Paana. So, next is the child characteristic that can mask giftedness. Ang other term is mga hindrance na masabtan ng usa ka bata that ay gifted. So, number 1 is the problematic behavior. Mga common nga problema sa behavior nila kay mga gahig ulo, mga dili makagi-operate niya, tumatanggi. So, they refuse to listen. So, number 2 is introversion. Mostly sa kanila kay matahimik. So, dili mo kibo. So, number 3, uneven development. Common sa mga gifted na mga bata, yung mga advanced sila sa usa ka butang kaysa sa usa ka butang. So, number 4 is learning difficulty. Maglisod sila pasabot. Maglisod sila learning. So, number 5 is physical or sensory disability. So, pwede na mahimog barrier para dili ma-recognize ang strength sa usa ka bata or yung gifted. So, number 6 is the hiding ability. So, muna siya usahay himuon tungod siguro sa kahadlok nila mag-fail, dili sila i-accept sa mga tao sa ilang surroundings na mahadlok sila nga malahik sila sa uban. So, they tend to hide their ability. So, last is the family characteristic that can mask giftedness. Number 1 is the economic disadvantage. So, tungod sa ekonomiya, usa ka environment, dili na matabangan ng usa ka batang may gifted. For example, diri sa Philippines, kung ma-observe natin, why facility or like the school para sa mga gifted students. Not just students, but children. Para ma-enhance pa ang ilang ability. So, number 2 is the minority language and bilingualism. So, tungkol siya sa language. So, number 3 is the cultural customs. So, sa family siya. Number 4 is the gifted siblings. So, kung usa ka family na na-recognize nga usa ka gifted, ang usa nga siblings, di na siya ma-recognize. Muna siya mga hindrance para sa mga gifted. So, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, class. Now that you have learned how do we identify gifted and talented and the consistent indicators of giftedness, let's proceed to the general educational factors. So, the skills in basic elementary curriculum of the Department of Education is intended for the average learners who lack the competencies that match the learning characteristics of the high ability students, while a differentiated curriculum is the one utilized for special education for learners who are gifted and talented. Let's proceed to the curriculum compacting. So when we say curriculum compacting, it is a method of modifying regular curriculum for certain grade levels by compressing content and skills that high ability learners are capable of learning in a shorter period of time. So one example of this is the Silahis Special Education Centers of Manila City Schools, wherein the high ability students study 4th, 5th, and 6th grade for the span of 2 years. The enrichment of the regular curriculum allows the students to study the topic at a greater depth, both in horizontal and vertical directions, employing higher order thinking skills. The differentiated curriculum goes beyond the so-called basic learning competencies, or BLC, and allows students to advance to topic that is of interest to them. Meanwhile, acceleration modifies the pace or length of time in which students gain the skills and competencies in the regular curriculum to accommodate the enrichment process. Let's dig in deeper to vertical and horizontal enrichment. But let's begin first with horizontal enrichment. When we say horizontal enrichment, it adds more content and increases learning areas not found in the regular curriculum for grade levels. So the students go beyond the grade requirements and move on to study the subjects in the higher grades. For example, in a subject like mathematics, so the regular curriculum are including algebra and geometry, while for the differentiated curriculum, they already included the trigonometry and calculus, which is more advanced. Let's proceed to the vertical enrichment. So, when we talk about vertical enrichment, it allows the students to engage themselves in independent study, wherein it involves experimentation and investigation of topic that interests them. Social studies and makabayan subjects lend themselves to the vertical enrichment well, wherein it allows students to share their ideas in solving related problems at home, in school, or even problems in the community. Most of the special education class in the different regions of our country utilize the self-contained class, wherein the high-ability students are taught by a trained special education teacher. Mainstreaming activities are arranged so that students can socialize with their peers and they can help those peers who are slow learners. So that would be all, class. I hope you learned something and thank you for listening.